Howdy, neighbor. It's me, Betty. Today I wanted to share a poem by one of my favorite poets, Thomas Wyatt, who lived from 1503 to 1542. He was from a very well-connected family, and he tried to do well for himself. It was thought that he had been involved in his younger days with Anne Boleyn. Yes, that Anne Boleyn, Henry the VIII's second wife. And before that, of course, she was his mistress. And so there was always talk that Thomas Wyatt, who had known Anne Boleyn, that he had been in love with her. And of course, this was very, very bad for her, because during the fiasco that led to her end, when she was executed, Thomas Wyatt was also dragged into that, and he was also imprisoned in the Tower of London along with Anne Boleyn, and he was accused of adultery. Well, he had very good connections. As I said, he was born from an influential family, so he had his family had connections with Thomas Cromwell, which was Henry VIII's top minister. And so Thomas Cromwell was able to get Thomas Wyatt out of prison. And so Thomas Wyatt got to keep his head, but he did have to, and he did see the execution of Anne Boleyn, and of course he wrote a poem about that. Well, the poem that I'm going to share today, which is one of my favorite poems, I first found this poem, oh my goodness, it's definitely been probably 20 years now. I think it's such a beautiful poem, and that it shows so much emotion. It is widely thought that this poem was written for Anne Boleyn, that Thomas Wyatt in this poem was referring to a liaison that he had with Anne Boleyn in his youth. This was before Anne Boleyn went to Henry VIII's court and unfortunately got involved with Henry VIII. And so the poem is called "They Flee From Me." So I am going to read this poem for you now. They flee from me that sometime did me seek, with naked foot stalking in my chamber. I have seen them gentle, tame, and meek, that now are wild and do not remember that sometime they put themselves in danger to take bread at my hand. And now they range, busily seeking with a continual change. Thanked be fortune, it hath been otherwise, 20 times better, but once in special, in thin array after a pleasant guise, when her gown from her shoulders did fall, and she caught me in her arms long and small, and therewithal sweetly did me kiss, and softly said, "Dear heart, how like you this?" It was no dream, I lay broad waking, but all is turned thorough, my gentleness, into a strange fashion of forsaking. And I shall have leave to go of her goodness, but she also to use newfangleness. But since that I am so kindly served, I fain should know what she hath deserved. So there is the poem, They Flee From Me, by Thomas Wyatt.